Hello and welcome to episode 18 of Things We Play. It's Monday the 4th of June and it is E3. We've got a slightly different show than normal. We're going to be doing 3 shows over the next couple of days, talking about the main sort of conferences from E3. So we've just watched Microsoft's E3 conference.
We have.
Indeed.
The Entertainment Evolved, they called it. And now we're going to just talk you through our thoughts and feelings on what was probably a slightly sort of middling conference, really. There was nothing particularly exciting. There was some big stuff shown, but as far as sort of wow factor, it was very much a run-of-the-mill job. My name is Mike Oldman. I'm here with Sean Hart.
Hello.
And Joe Tanetta.
Hello.
Let's do it, guys. Halo. I just said that by accident. It just popped out of my mouth. I was going to say something else, but Halo. And that's what they started with, anyway. The conference opened with the live-action trailer for Halo 4. These have become much a staple for Halo now, haven't they, these live-action trailers? And it's kind of like Microsoft just going, we really want a movie. You know? Like, if we make enough of these, we'll kind of just have a movie. Exactly, it'll be fine. And they're normally done by fairly big directors as well, and they're pretty cool. This one was awesome, I thought.
It was really good.
I mean, my main issue with it was that Microsoft kind of fucked up the delivery of it on their dashboard.
Yeah. So we had a problem with our stream, didn't we? We watched the conference through the 360, and unfortunately, it didn't start at the right point. So we came in halfway through that trailer.
Not quite half, but it was. We missed a fair portion.
But otherwise, what did you think of the trailer?
Yeah, sweet.
It is good. It's what they generally do well.
Yeah, it was quite, and it gave us quite a lot of tidbits as to what Halo 4 is about as well. I mean, it was, it sets up the fact that the Infinity gets lost in this Dyson sphere that is the same place that Master Chief and Cortana end up. By sheer fluke, it would seem that they all end up in the same place, but is a convenient way of delivering Warthogs and other UNSC equipment to Master Chief throughout the game, I'd imagine. It also mentioned about Cortana as well, and that being a big, we can imagine, story plot through the game of her rampancy, and she says in the trailer, AI's only last 7 years, essentially.
And
I'm 8 years old, so she's going to go a bit mental, and that's interesting. There's some clips at the end as well of her freaking out.
Yeah.
Going,
shouting and
help me, I'm a mad woman.
Orange and stuff.
Yeah. It wasn't clear from this trailer whether this is the same, and I presume it must be, same style and part of the series of the Halo 4 the Halo live action that they've announced recently. Because that's supposed to be all about Infinity and setting up the game.
Yeah.
So I imagine this isn't part of that, but I imagine this is what it's going to look like. They've used the same team and actors and whatnot and things, In which case, pretty cool.
Yeah.
It had kind of a... In some ways, it was convenient because I watched Aliens the other night, but it had an Aliens vibe to it. There was a few bits. There was a couple of scenes where there's that woman just screaming and it all looking a bit grim.
Yeah.
Which kind of reminded me of sort of James Cameron's Aliens. It looked cool. It didn't look too tea for teen.
Right.
Because undoubtedly it's going to be, it's not going to be anything too grim.
No.
But it didn't look like it was, really playing it down for kids and too sort of kid friendly. It looked quite dark in places. So that was what they launched in, and then they went straight into a Halo 4 campaign demo.
Yeah.
Which looked pretty sweet.
It looks fucking awesome.
It does look good.
It looked like Halo, didn't it? The gameplay looked very much like Halo. And it was sort of semi-scripted level part, I guess, that was sort of akin to the early levels of Halo 3. It was sort of jungle-based. But showed off some new stuff. Showed off a new enemy. Showed off several new enemies, really. Forerunner enemies, weren't they?
Yeah.
And they kind of... I don't know, what do you guys think of this? I thought they looked like Michael Bay Transformers.
They did in a way,
with fewer moving parts.
Yeah.
Like an easy assembled Transformer from now.
I don't know, the teleporting melee thing kind of reminded me of Bakugan, kind of folding out and stuff.
Yeah.
When it comes out of the ground.
Well, they were a weird mix, weren't they? I mean, visually they looked like just sort of mechanical animals almost, I guess. And everything sort of magnetized together, like you saw when Chief picks up their weapons, Forerunner weapons, they kind of
float up.
Build in his hands.
Assemble.
Yeah, exactly. Which was a cool effect.
Yeah.
And the enemies were like that as well. We saw enemies that were like little, almost like dogs, I suppose. Like Gears of War crawlers, what are they called? Or
Tickers.
They look pretty cool. And then there was an elite-like variant, I suppose, like your main stock enemy, who just looked like General Grievous's baby brother.
Yeah.
Even down to that sort of like weird
skull
faceplate thing. He had like a little mini cape as well. But they had cool. They did cool things. They there's also flying things, weren't there? Little like flying drones.
Yeah, they had like kind of 4 propellers.
Yeah. Sort of. Bloody parrot drones in every single game ever. But they did cool things, like the drone in particular. You guys noticed it first time, where he throws a Chief throws a plasma grenade, and he catches it, spins it around, and throws it back at you.
Yeah.
Which was nice, and it does it. It catches it and holds it for long enough, as in pure Halo style. You could kill him while he's got it, and it explodes, and it shows that
takes
later
out
on.
enemies around them.
Yeah, I thought all that stuff looked pretty cool. I mean, the weapons it showed weren't anything particularly special. One looked like a rifle of some sort, and the other one was a shotgun of some sort. You know, but that game, graphically looks swish.
Those cutscenes, like at the beginning, after live action cut out, and it showed the first scene of the Infinity coming down. It just looked awesome.
Yeah, it was cool, like a big giant slow motion ship crashing over his head, and then you get that weird Forerunner sphere thing that just flies over and shoots after it. Yeah, it was cool. It was a lot of questions, I suppose. Everything was really, it was careful not to. It didn't reveal that much, but it did give you a lot of things to sort of think about
and go away with.
Yeah, other bits that were in the trailer, you got, there were ghosts that the Chief was using. Warthogs are very clearly in there. There was these big freaking transporter vehicle things,
kind of like elephants from War.
Yeah, but kind of more rugged, weren't they? More ATV based, I guess. It looks like there's stuff outside, which I was kind of most intrigued with. When you see the setup of them going into this giant metal ball, you don't expect necessarily to see trees and foliage and stuff.
I guess it's just kind of another play on the whole Halo thing, where you're coming up to a big metal ring in space. You don't expect it to have rivers and mountains and
it's very much
fields on it.
Very much a Halo staple is kind of these pretty worlds, isn't it? You can imagine. Well, I think there are butterflies in some Halo games, aren't there? So. That was cool. That was exciting.
It was good to see it.
All right, then after that, we had Splinter Cell Blacklist, which came up. Started off, and I think we all immediately thought it was Black Ops, because it was just desert environment, man being dragged in first person type thing, wasn't it? And it's like,
with
Arab, obviously,
Arab kind of dialogue.
But it wasn't. It was a new Splinter Cell game. This one was kind of interesting. It looked cool. It looked like Conviction crossed with Chaos Theory. I kind of thought, in that it was new Sam Fisher. It was Conviction Sam Fisher, but in his old style gear, sneaking suit and green goggles and stuff.
Yeah.
And really quite Assassin's Creed acrobat.
Yeah, he's kind of like got free running up walls and stuff, hasn't he?
And that was cool. I mean, that's...
And kind of sly melee attacks from behind boxes where he's kind of stabbing people in the throat and shit.
And the thing is, Sam Fisher was always really nimble. Early Splinter Cell games, you can do a lot of really nimble stuff.
Yeah, where he bounces up the walls and then holds his position while people move under him.
And that's exactly, it's a core part of him being this stealth guy. That's what made him slightly different, was he did do the movie style stuff of, you go into a room, he'd be there, go out of the room, come back in the room, and he's not there, but he's on the ceiling, The problem is the game's never made any of that easy.
No.
And since those games have come out, and Conviction pretty much had none of that, had hanging from window ledges, but that's kind of it. Since then, games have come out like Assassin's Creed, which have made that sort of traversal in environments and stealth kills in particular really easy to do and fluid, just like one button presses. So it was cool and natural to see those two things blur, which is quite exciting. I mean, on top of that, it then had the Conviction style executions.
But it did look like they'd massively built on those, because some of the things the guy that was demoing it pulled off were amazing. So there's a bit where he slides over the car bonnet, grabs the guy after marking, and then just starts.
Well, the big thing was it was in motion now. You could do it whilst moving. You didn't just stand up into a room and statically take out 3 people. He could be running through a room, grabbing guys and doing stuff while still executing. And that was cool.
But I mean, it did look like someone demoing a level that they've just played 50 times over. I'm sure if either any of us 3 got it for the first time, it would not look like that while we played.
And like the guy said, the abilities that he was using are ones you unlock after you level up your Sam Fisher. So sort of like in Assassin's Creed, where you unlock the ability to do a jump from a window ledge and things like that. So it maybe at first it'll be nothing like that, but as you play from the game, you'll get better.
By the time you've got to the last 10 minutes of the game, you'll be able to do all that shit.
It looked cool. It looked like they understood what people wanted from a Splinter Cell game, and it looked like it looked as though they were still committed to Conviction as a reboot and going, this is now how Sam Fisher is. But it also looked like they'd listened and gone, but we understand the bits that you wanted that Conviction didn't have. And here they are
from original or earlier stuff.
Yeah, because they even went on to mention. They even went on to mention that it's got co-op in it, and Spies vs Mercs is back in there as well as the normal multiplayer, and that's again, it just looks like fan service.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like the second ever Splinter Cell game that I'll buy.
Right. Okay. Well, and that's probably what they want.
I'm sure they is.
So yeah, Splinter Cell Blacklist was interesting. Did it mention at all whether that was exclusive in any way to 360?
I don't think it was. They didn't mention anything like that.
Because it's interesting, just because Conviction was obviously Conviction, not a PS3 game.
Oh no, it
Was it
wasn't. Was it?
No, it was 360 exclusive.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't catch any of that as to
No.
whether it was on PS3, but it's quite possible that it's 360 exclusive as well. But there we go. After that, then EA had a little bash with some sports titles. We won't talk too much about these because we're not big sports guys.
No.
But fairly cool features for FIFA 13 and Madden. It was all Kinect voice stuff really that they were showing off. And pretty cool, I thought, to be honest. In FIFA, it was things like making substitutions with your voice instead of going through a tedious menu and doing it on the fly while you're playing, which kind of made sense. It also showed that fairly nifty thing was if you get pissed off because someone scored a goal or you've just booted the ball into the audience and you go, fuck this is bullshit, then the commentators go, he's not happy with that one. And it's like, yeah, okay. So it would have been awesome if it recorded your voice, played it back, and I could do chants. If I could get the crowd to chant whatever I want by just chanting it, why has no one done that?
Yeah.
You know, I'm here all week. These ideas are free. So moving after that, then we had a brief trailer and gameplay for Fable: The Journey, which everyone knows how I feel about Fable. I couldn't give a monkeys, and this did not change that.
No, it looks like a poor arcade game, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't look good. It's just like on rails magic game.
I do have a real issue with Kinect games just looking crap.
Yeah,
all of them just look like shit.
I think a lot of them are. I mean, it's people coming out,
low development.
yeah,
costs,
exactly.
basically.
They
just
and,
knock them
and
out.
rushed out. Yeah, Fable: The Journey didn't. It's an idea that I think has legs to it because Kinect, seems to lend itself obviously to you conjuring magic with your hands and it being fairly loose in how you do it.
Yeah.
But it didn't look great. The visual style looked horrific.
Yeah, it does look
like you said, Joe, it just looks like an on-rail shoe. And although they keep saying it's not, it still looks very much like it is.
Yeah.
And I think it's just it's semi on rails. You sort of you movement control in Kinect when you're in first person, not great. What was that Sega game? Right? Was it Rise of Nightmares?
Yeah.
That did a similar thing where you sort of put your
Put
hand up
to walk and stuff. Yeah.
I'm not convinced on Fable: The Journey.
No, ever since they first showed it, I was like, what the fuck is this? It's going to be terrible.
Yeah.
And most likely it will be.
It's worth saying at this point that, and I did mention it while we were watching, is that I feel like these Microsoft conferences have got very formulaic over the last couple of years, where they just bring out the same thing over the time. We said at the beginning it wasn't that exciting; it was a fairly dull conference. There were big announcements, but they were just ones you kind of expect. So next up, Gears of War. It's like, well, of course, there was going to be a Gears of War thing there, but this was kind of odd. It was Gears of War Judgment, and the trailer showed us nothing apart from it's another Gears of War game.
Yeah.
It focused on Baird in the trailer, wasn't it? He was in chains and there was a load of locusts and it was Gears of War.
Yeah, and they were shooting at people and
Yeah,
they were
and
standing
it was called
behind
Judgment.
walls. Yeah.
And I don't know if it's an XBLA title or if it's a retail title or if it's a multiplayer shooter or if it's just another Gears of War game. It just nothing.
Yeah, they just didn't give away anything.
From reading online previously, from rumours before this announcement was made, it seems as though it is some sort of tactical shooter. I think it's a single player game, a la Gears of War. It's third person, still the same, but it seems like it's class based. Perhaps I'm not sure. It's Game Informer's in the US. It's their cover story on the mag this month, and there's two covers for it. One with Baird on the front, and the other one with Coltrane. So they seem to be your main protagonists, which is pretty cool. I'm down for that, but I've no idea. I have no idea if it's just more Gears or anything slightly different.
I mean, Gears of War initially did have some form of tactical control initially to begin with. Gears of War 1, you could order squad mates to do stuff, but they took it away for 2, and I don't know if it's in 3. I can't remember. I think I just shot stuff in 3.
Yeah.
Until it was done. So I don't know if it has that. But yeah, it's kind of weird that it digressed out of that area and just focused straight on cover and shoot, and so it'd be interesting to see if it goes back to tactical and if it can offer something deeper than 1, because 1's tactics were shit anyway.
Well, I think that's why it didn't progress that way. I think it's naturally that it went the other. But we'll see. That's if it is a tactical thing. We don't know. We don't know at all.
No.
The weird thing about Judgment is the fact that they only show Cole and Baird. Is the fact that it looks like it'd only be 2-player co-op instead of 4, which was what they seem to have been going with the last Gears of War.
Yeah.
So it seems odd.
True.
They've only showed the 2 of them.
As if there's co-op at all.
Yeah.
I would imagine they probably fit other.
Yeah, they probably got support
Faces in
casting.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. Yeah, it didn't. I'm a big Gears of War
There's got
fan,
to
but
at least be a Carmine.
yeah. By the time we get into like fourth titles in the series, I do start to get burnt out anyway, and so
Yeah.
I'm not overly excited about this. I'll keep an eye on it. It's big for Microsoft, obviously, but we don't know much about it. It's interesting is People Can Fly
Yeah.
that developed, so it's not Epic. It's the Bulletstorm guys, and this is presumably the reason why they got pulled off Bulletstorm 2. So they're good. Bulletstorm was good enough
Yeah,
to
it's
show,
actually
and they've got full backing of Epic, so one to watch. But at this point, I just don't know if it's anything other than what we've already had.
Yeah.
After that, then we had Forza Horizon, which again was another one. There was a lot of trailers. I mean, obviously we're going to get a lot of trailers
Just
in this,
kind
but
of reveal CG trailers. weren't
yeah, I mean, how much can I tell from a Forza trailer? Not a lot.
There's
they're
cars.
it's a good-looking game and it's got realistic cars in it. This looks like Test Drive Unlimited.
It does, because they never really mention because they say Horizon's a massive event.
they? Right.
Horizon. That's because in the trailer they mentioned that Horizon's a massive event that's going on in the game. So I don't know whether it's like Test Drive, so it's massive across country, or if it's like Need for Speed The Realm, where it's like a race from one side to the other, or they don't explain anything in there. It just shows a lot of countryside and a lot of cars and a lot of traffic.
Yeah. I mean, I can see them doing a kind of Forza.
It's more
sandbox.
this is more arcadey, isn't it? I'm not sure it is the sandbox experience for it, but I think it is a more arcadey Forza rather than the simulation
track
type.
racing stuff.
Yeah.
It
sure.
did look that way, because it's not Turn 10 this time, is it? It's that other company.
Who's that other company?
I can't remember.
Brilliant,
I just know it's not Turn 10.
I'll have to edit that somehow.
Yeah.
Okay, next we had them showing off Bing and the future of Bing, a wonderful search service that nobody uses on the 360. And the dude just started speaking to it in Spanish or something.
Yeah.
That was
So
it.
it's got multi-language voice
Yeah,
control,
which actually is cool, but obviously irrelevant.
which was
to us.
expected 2 years ago.
Yeah, well, is it? I would expect those things to never come.
Oh, really?
But that's cool. Just doesn't affect us in any way. But it was just a weird system where I was sitting there just watching some dude speak Spanish to an Xbox on stage. That led into the whole sort of entertainment announcements, and then there was more movie providers or television content providers that announced. They announced Nickelodeon and Paramount, and more interestingly than those, although Paramount's quite a big deal for movies.
Sure.
Although I don't know if anyone over here gets their movies from Microsoft. We use Netflix, so
Yeah.
we're not using that system. But it's pretty cool if you're into that. But Machinima.com stuff's going to go there, which is a big deal.
Yeah, that was a surprise to see, like, Machinima stuff going directly to Xbox, because I've only ever seen it on YouTube and stuff like that. So.
Well, they've got huge amounts of funding from YouTube and Google, and Machinima.com's just taken off massively as a gaming news place.
Right.
So that'll be quite cool content. All of this interesting as well, given that Microsoft have obviously shut down Inside Xbox.
Yeah.
There's no need for all that stuff. It makes more sense if they're going to be pumping out more content through it. They don't need to be making
Their own content.
Yeah, exactly. So that was cool. Then they showed a load of sports stuff, which they always do, and it's always a bit gutting this side, is that it's US only stuff. So more partnership deals with NBA and NFL.
NHL.
Through the ESPN. Yeah, NHL as well through ESPN. All that looks wicked if you're in the States. Enjoy it, guys. What can I say to that? It looks like one of the definitive ways to watch that content if you're in the States.
Yeah.
And is clearly Microsoft just going, look, this box sits in your living room and it does.
Like
It
you
does
said,
everything
it's
you
the
need to.
same. It's your telly, regardless of whether it has internet connection or not now, it is a smart TV.
Yeah, exactly.
With an Xbox sitting underneath.
And there's enough Xboxes out there in the world for them to be able to say stuff like that. So delivering it just makes perfect sense, After that, they showed another new service called Xbox Music, which
They didn't really show anything.
Well, it was a montage, wasn't it?
yeah, it was a montage of this. But they explained what their service was going on. It was kind of iTunes.
I mean, does anyone use their Xbox to view online music? Do you?
No, I think that's what they're trying to change.
But those features are already there.
No, but they're not putting in a feature that's already there. This is a whole music marketplace that's going to work across again. They're going across with their apps and various other nonsense. It's your iTunes from Microsoft.
Yeah, because wasn't he saying they're going to add like 30 million songs to it?
Yeah, it was iTunes from Microsoft. And big focus on these on devices.
Yeah.
Connecting. That was a big deal, which we'll get to a little bit more in a second. Next, they brought out the Nike guys to talk about the Nike guys, which was great. And the guy comes out and is like, when Nike first started, we used to just sell trainers out of a truck at track meets. And it's like, I just thought, how many people are turning up at track meets going, I need some trainers? That's before you've left the house, surely?
Surely that's
you know?
the first thing you should have.
Got your orange juice? Yeah. Got your trainers? Oh no, shit. I was like, I'll buy some there. Nike will be there. But it worked for them somehow. So Nike Plus stuff, it was like a Connect training thing.
Yeah.
I didn't really realise if this was clear, if this was a game or an app, or if it was free, or if you paid for it, or how it was delivered. It just looked like Ubisoft's Fitness Evolved.
I was assuming it was going to be a box product.
Yeah, see, but I think given the section they were talking about it in, that it's an app.
Maybe.
I don't know. We're not runners. Joe, do you run much?
Yeah, all the time, man. I'm out there jogging.
Intentionally, or do you just maybe
Being chased by dogs.
lose your balance on a hill, perhaps?
No, if I do that, I generally roll down it, not run.
Okay, well, yeah. So it's not really our sort of thing. Things got a little bit more interesting then when they talked about smart glass.
Smart glass is looking quite interesting.
You know, smart glass being Xbox's, it's an app, isn't it? Really, it's an app that's going to work on any device. They've been smart with this. They've been looking through smart glasses when designing this, and it's available on anything.
Yeah.
You know, like, you got an iPad, that's fine. You got an iPhone, that's fine. You got an Android phone, that's fine. You got a Windows phone, that's fine. And they just want everything to work. You can just control your 360 through it. It was cool. It was.
It basically turns your phone into your DVD media remote.
Yeah, it had. Well, they showed weird stuff for it, because it does so much that it's kind of interesting. What their biggest feature that they were talking about was like, hey, check me out. I'm watching Game of Thrones, and it's my device then, let's say an iPad, is then showing me more information about that show and that episode as I'm watching it.
Yeah,
and it's like, well, that's cool, but that's only ever going to be as cool as the content providers making stuff for it. Yeah,
and the issue again is you're then taking your eyes off your television program
you're
watching to look at your iPhone.
So it's not as bad as doing it actually on the screen, but yeah, similarly, you're still having to look at something else if you want that information. But it all just kind of looked like the sort of Blu-ray web features you get on a Blu-ray disc. Not normal Blu-ray features, but the ones you have to connect to the web for. That's the ones it kind of seemed like. And so I can see a lot of that content being a bit naff.
Yeah.
But then they showed it working with games as well. So they showed it with like Madden, you working out plays, and Halo having all your stats and matchmaking stuff. That's genuinely quite cool. I'd be interested to see. I want to know how much it can interact with games, because that's all menu-based stuff that I'd imagine is quite removed from the actual gameplay experience. We're not talking about Wii U, or what we imagine to be Wii U style stuff, where you're actually interacting with the game.
Yeah.
It didn't show anything of like, I'm tapping a button on my screen, bad example, but I'm tapping a button on my screen to throw a grenade in Halo. It was more sort of the server-based side of, here's my stats, here's the things that can be run website.
It's kind of like Waypoint.
Yeah,
active
exactly.
Waypoint while you're playing.
So I'd be interested to know exactly how much that can interact with games, because that will change it. It's quite a big game changer then.
Yeah.
You know, can it be my radar in a game or something like that, or you know, hey Sony, can it be my rearview mirror in a racing game? So that was quite cool. The thing that I wanted the most, which seems the most silly about it, was I wanted to just be able to, you can slide your finger across your app and it will move the panels on the screen. I like that because it's like Kinect, but I'm actually touching something. You know, as opposed to like in Kinect, you just wave your hand like this, you just slide your hand along a piece of glass, and that makes more sense. Again, more Apple-like. You know, it's going to make it's going to make it like using an iPad is using your Xbox.
Your Xbox is an iPad, yeah.
Which takes us on to the next thing. Then the next announcement, which was connected to that quite dramatically, was Internet Explorer is finally coming to the Xbox 360. One of those things that's been asked for so many times for no reason by everyone. Like everyone's like, because the PS3 had one, everyone's like, oh, when's our Internet Explorer? It's like you don't want it because you wouldn't use it. You don't use the PS3 one because it's crap. And I think Microsoft did right in going, no, like we're not giving. Why? It's crap. But now through Smart Glass, they've gone, all right,
we can make it all right.
Yeah. Why are these crap? They're crap because of the controls. And anyone that's used the PS3 browser, or in fact the Wii browser, knows that it's crap.
Yeah, they're pretty poor. Yeah.
And so this idea was basically you control it all via your device, and it's any device you've got. So it's pretty much anyone's phone, which is cool, and all gesture based, like an iPad. And it even showed that the browser would take content, interactive content and videos and stuff that you could view in the browser, sort of almost out of it in the same way an iPad does to show you that content. So you're not just literally watching. It's not like a PC web browsing experience. It's a more streamlined experience than that. And they said, you know, you go to any website, and that that seemed pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'd use that. I guess it's using your TV as all you're doing with the TV, and that is viewing.
Yeah.
Which is nice, and it gives you a better interface than a controller.
Certainly.
So, why the hell not? So that got all that gubbins out of the way, all that technical stuff, and they moved straight into then Tomb Raider. Crystal Dynamics came out and demoed Tomb Raider, the reboot.
Again, it's looking very tasty.
Yeah. What did you guys think?
I mean, personally, I'm not a fan of Tomb Raider, and I never really liked Lara Croft as a character. The settings never really interest me. I'm not a big Indiana Jones fan. Archaeology, climbing up caves, all that sort of bollocks didn't really interest me. But this is looking quite brutal. It looks like she's being punished for her sins.
I think that's amazing. That's what people said after the last E3 demo last year, was that it just seemed like almost like torture porn. And it is that way. It's like this Lara Croft, considering she's a much younger girl in this, because it's her origin story. She takes a battering.
I mean, she must if she's just finished uni, 18, 19.
Yeah, it was something like
around
that.
that mark.
But she takes a serious beating in the game, to the point of bones sticking out the side of her, and she's breaking ribs and she's falling things. She catches up with Nathan Drake, and it's interesting how similar this feels to an Uncharted game when watching it, both in terms of polish and the slickness of the whole thing, to just the general unlucky nature of the main character. Nathan Drake, everything he steps on breaks underneath his feet, and things are falling down him all
explodes.
the time. Yeah, and that seemingly is what's happening to Lara Croft now.
Yeah.
But it did look really good. Had showed a few of the sort of third-person sort of shooting mechanics with her bow and arrow and stuff.
Sneaking around and picking people off.
They've not got over their whole "we hate animals" thing that Lara Croft's always had, where she just loves killing animals,
having a barbecue.
But the story as well looked interesting, and I think that's what made it feel most Uncharted like. There looked like some real cool emotional plot points of her being out of her depth and just kind of being a bit sort of screwed in the wilderness. And there's double crosses and triple crosses and quadruple crosses and hot cross buns and all sorts of stuff. So that generally got me really interested in that. I think
it does look good. I do feel though that everything seems to have an impact. So when she was going down the zip line and she hit the ground, it sounded like it hurt too much just for going down the zip line. So there's a proper thud in it. With the shooting with the bow and arrow and that, it did look very, very good. And they had the whole flaming bow and arrow, so you could blow up the guys around the tank
and stuff.
It did look like they fought it through well.
It's action packed. I mean, they've said in recent interviews that it's much more open worldy than anything before. Right. You do genuinely get the chance to go off and explore, which previous Tomb Raider games have been criticised for losing that almost, and you just being channeled down the path. So apparently there's all that. That's not clear, obviously, in these demos. But that combined with these action set pieces and that seamless integration between the two seems pretty cool. Seems like a watering. But I wholeheartedly agree with you, Joe. She just looks like... I feel like the first bad thing that happens in the game would be the thing that killed her. And that's it. Game over.
I feel that after a certain point I won't want to play anymore because I just don't want to hurt her anymore. It's just like after watching those trailers, it's like I just don't want to. After she's like gliding down with that parachute and smacking into the trees, it's like I feel sorry for the girl. I just don't want to put her through it.
That dude bites her. That's the other thing. The trailer's dark, but there's a bit where she has a chunk bitten out of her neck by a guy, and then after you see her and she's just kind of holding her neck and stumbling forwards, she looks bad. She does not look like in a good way.
She shoots that guy as well, don't she? She's just like covered in his blood after blowing his head
off.
And
it looks like she's traumatised from it.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to see what that turns out like.
It's looking much like Splinter Cell in that it might be the second Tomb Raider I ever buy.
Fair enough. I'm more interested in this character and with this origin story. Where does Lara end up?
Yeah.
Because this feels alternate universe enough that this Lara doesn't turn into the Lara we've known before. This Lara ends up in a mental institution or just dead. So that was interesting. It was a good demo. I think people will that so far that was one of the best demos, if not the best demo I think we've seen so far from E3.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a contender for a real strong one. So that was cool. Not exclusive to 360, but timed exclusive for content, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think, which is pretty cool.
It just seems weird though because Tomb Raider was always PlayStation wise. Now they're moving it to Xbox, and then Xbox has secured time release DLC. It's just
That's true.
Weird, yeah.
Oh, you don't see Sega Saturn fans complaining about them losing it. So what's the first console for it? We want it. Why don't fucking no even mention DLC for them? So then after that, then we had a weird curveball, where dude comes out and he's like 3 exclusives,
Oh, yeah.
and it's like what the fuck? Those things are not what we expected to hear from a Microsoft conference. And 3 exclusive games, all. I think it's safe to presume these are all XBLA.
Yeah, it looked that way.
It was a bit confusing. It didn't really say. The first one was Ascend New Gods.
Yeah,
Which-
made by the guys that made Toy Soldiers.
Yeah, a terrible name for a game.
Yeah.
Ascend, New Gods. I have no idea what this game was about. It looked like Infinity Blade.
Initially, for a fraction of a second, it kind of looked like Toy Soldiers. It looked like there was troops on the battlefield, and then gods started descending from the skies and kicking the crap out of each other. And then a really big one turned up, and it turned into God of War.
That's true. Yeah,
it kind of went from Toy Soldiers to Black and White to God of War. I'm like, right.
Yeah, and it looked fairly ropey as well, didn't
Yeah.
it? It didn't look great. But I'm not really none the wiser, and you'll see with all these games,
Yeah.
none the wiser as to what any of them are. Really, that was the one at least showed some gameplay
Yeah.
and made a little bit of sense. But it was I
Had
don't
some
know.
context,
Yeah.
ish.
So we'll see. I guess. I mean, Toy Soldiers was good.
Yeah.
So we'll
I've not bought any.
give them the benefit of the doubt. Next up then was the next game from Twisted Pixel, which Microsoft bought earlier on in the year. Twisted Pixel obviously doing these mental, Explosion Man
Yeah.
and
Miss Explosion Man.
yeah, what was the thing? Gunstringer.
Did they do Guns? Yeah, they did. Yeah. they did Guns.
Yeah. Comic Jumper was there.
Right.
And all this weird sort of like FMV stuff that they do because they did the Wavy Tube Man Chronicles, which was like a light gun FMV game add-on for Gunstringer. They're off their rockers in terms of mentality. And this was weird, man. This game, for one, it was called Loco Cycle, which again, these are it's like we've opened the box of Xbox Live indie games. And I can imagine Ascend New Gods, Loco Cycle, and the next one, Matter, all being games from that. Loco Cycle was weird because the trailer showed a revolving camera around what looked like a Tron light cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the whole time you were saying, "Don't be perfect dark. Don't be." Perfect
Well, because
dark."
that was the voiceover was talking about a woman fighting.
Yeah, but it did say her name was Iris. I think her code name was
Okay.
Iris, and then just like talking about her being the top of her class in like martial arts and knowing 20 different styles, and it was just weird.
But it was just strange that it was talking about a woman fighting and showing us a revolving motorcycle. There was no connection between that. It was just like, what the hell is going on? And then it just went Loco Cycle, and that was it.
Yeah.
No idea. What the hell's the bike? She's a bike riding woman.
It to me it looked like it was a Knight Rider bike because it had the whole visor
Street
thing on the
Hawk.
front.
It had a,
Yeah,
yeah,
it has
it
this
definitely had
covered
it definitely had a Street Hawk vibe to it. That's what I was thinking before it jumps out of the factory wall or whatever, So that was weird. And then they went on to go, oh yeah, Gore Verbinski, Pirates of the Caribbean, and here's his game, which partnership that started up ages ago. THQ, I believe. That's through.
Yeah.
And it's a game called Matter, and
Yeah.
does it?
Don't know. We'll find out, won't we?
I have no idea. Again, puzzle game. It
Possibly.
looked like a puzzle game involving a sphere.
And squares.
And squares.
It looked like a sphere going to another sphere. Because it had the whole thing with the two spheres and the bits came out and they were
yeah.
about to touch. It
Sphere
looked like he was
sex,
trying to it looked like he was just trying to find his friend the other sphere.
Sphere on sphere action.
Yeah, it's just weird.
in a QB world.
Yeah, it was very odd. I didn't really get that. So that was a weird segment in the conference.
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone came away thinking, "Oh, good."
Wow.
know,
Wow.
it was just-
We're lucky.
It was just a
It's
whole
on
lot
Xboxes.
of what the fuck, So very strange. I don't get it. Then we had Capcom come out onto the stage then and show us Resident Evil 6. And they did quite a lengthy gameplay demo of this, to which Joe, you had quite strong opinions.
Yeah, it was just like fucking all over the shop. It didn't look like Resident Evil. It had Leon Kennedy in it and Claire Redfield. And at the beginning, it looked like it was just Resident Evil 2. And then he's in BSAA and they go for a building and it's just weird.
What's BSAA?
I don't know.
BS
It's Resident Evil.
What are you talking about?
Resident Evil 5, BSAA, is the foundation they build. So like Claire Redfield, Chris Redfield, Leon Kennedy. And that's what they use to stop whatever Umbrella created and things like this. They appear in Resident
So
Evil
they're
5.
like zombie reaction team.
Yeah, something like
All
that.
right. It looked very sort of Resi 4-ish, I guess, just in that it was dark
in
it was
terms of textures.
Yeah, and I thought it didn't look all that great. But then the trailer, and this was again, I think we all jarred with it, was went massively over the top all of a sudden, and like an F-16 jet fell out of a skyscraper onto a road, which blew up every single car in the road.
Yeah.
Whilst Leon's
They
running away
pegged
from
it,
it.
yeah.
You know, then he got into a helicopter and crashed into a train, and then flew through a building, and it's like, this is.
And then
What is this?
Dumped him into an arena filled with zombies.
Yeah, it's like, what? This isn't Resident Evil.
But when they went into the arena, they landed on some glass thing as well. So it's like, it's not an arena. It's just this. It's weird.
It was massively over the top, and that seemed a little bit jarring with the tone of Resident Evil
And the pace of previous Resident
yeah.
Evils.
But I liked the setting. I liked the idea of it being in a city, and it was cool looking out over the distance and seeing loads of that classic zombie thing of loads of empty cars and shuffling bodies and stuff, you know. And
Yeah.
it's that was cool. That it felt more zombie-like, and they seem to be back to zombies again. We're not fighting black people anymore.
No.
So yeah, Resi 6. I don't know.
I mean, some of the action sequences look quite cool. Not necessarily the big explosions, trains crashing, and helicopters, whatever. But where you're kind of moving through crowds of zombies, and quick fire things are coming up, and he's popping off zombies left and right,
I quite liked
and twisting around and capping stuff.
Resi 4 introduced like quick time events for certain things, didn't it? But they are just like quick button presses. And I liked this, and it seemed to be very similar, except for they all had a little timer, so it was timing quite right. There's a bit where you shoot a guy on the helicopter, and you see the clock go round, and you suddenly have to stop it on the top one. So I quite like those sorts of quick time events. They're sort of skill based as well.
Yeah, the combat looked weird though, because Resident Evil was always about getting your headshots and things like that. And in the newer ones, in this, you just seem to be shooting them in the chest and they're dropping. And it's like the shooting just looked completely different to what the last few Resident Evils have been.
I still thought it all looked a bit old. I just think that looks like a series of games that haven't really evolved. Now, there's a bit on the stairs where he's shooting people in the head, and it looks just like Resi 4 when he throws a grenade, and it was like that looks like gameplay that hasn't evolved.
I can kind of understand why it hasn't evolved. The evolution was Devil May Cry. That was supposed to originally be Resident Evil 3.
Yeah, that's true.
And
But
so that's taken off
I
in a
guess
fast action paced area.
I guess the argument is that this is what Resident Evil is.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. We don't change it because that's Resident Evil. When we change it, it becomes something else.
Yeah.
And we are Resi.
But then they took the risk on 4, and that paid off in a big way.
yeah,
But then they're kind of staying with 4 as its main
They seem to
underlying
be speeding it up a
engine.
lot more because,
Yeah.
like they said, their plan was to try and get the Call of Duty players into playing Resident Evil. So they're trying to speed it up, and I just,
I don't think
even
that's
from
gonna
watching it, I can't see how they're getting Call of
you
Duty.
still
players
can't
to play
move
it.
and shoot.
Oh yeah, you still can't. Yeah,
Was he static when he was shooting?
yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't help the facts of the matter, does it?
No. So yeah, Resident Evil. I'm hearing good things from people that have seen it. I don't think it was a particularly great demo. I thought it looked a bit janky in places where it was sort of doing some close quarters combat, and the animations ain't quite lined up and stuff like that. But it was long. It was a really long demo.
I'm sure Joe would buy it anyway.
I don't know.
You say that, you'll buy it.
With a massive explosion coming from that jet, I was just like, whoa, it's a bit over the top.
Well, it's obviously rocket fuel instead of jet fuel.
So then we had Racketeer. They brought some chick out on stage.
Oh, yeah.
And she was all like, "Yo, Racketeer, I'm a woman.
Showed it for about
I play
10
casual
seconds
games
and buggered off.
Yeah, but that was it. That was just kind of like, look, are you a girl like me? You might like games like I like. This is a game what I like. Here I am playing it. I'm a woman.
So it's like crap Angry Birds for Connect.
Yeah, it was like Crash the Castle.
Right.
Like Angry Birds' success, predecessor, really. Where you are literally, and it seemed like a really cool idea. You're throwing boulders at a building to knock it down, just like Angry Birds, just like Crash the Castle. Everyone knows how to play it. It's kind of fun to watch. Yet the physics for the buildings falling down just weren't very good. They weren't built out of bricks like in Angry Birds and Crash the Castle. They were just castles that just kind of vaporized, just kind of exploded in poor last generation style sense. There's no fun in knocking out the bottom pin of a tower and seeing it collapse onto another tower and take that out, and no tactical side of that, which is a real shame because it looked like it would be quite fun. It was very simple Connect gameplay otherwise.
Yeah, and it had those weird mechanics as well where she'd fired off the bolt and she's like spinning the ball to keep it going.
Yeah, exactly.
And then turning it and...
It's almost like Burnout style Aftertouch when you
Yeah.
crash, And yeah, that could be cool. That's not much different to bowling, to like Wii bowling, but in a different sense. You're just firing at a canvas. Yeah, that could have been all right. I'm just really disappointed that they haven't got those physics in to make it look really swish when you knock something down.
Yeah,
we'll see. That interestingly is part of Summer of Arcade, which although had no showing in the conference, we've looked at what those are, and we'll be talking to those after we've done here. But that's one of the first games of Summer Arcade. So after that, then another XBLA title. Quite a lot of XBLA things. It seems if all the games we think are XBLA games were XBLA games, then there was
There's
quite a lot in the
fair amount.
conference. But the next was actually I don't know if this is XBLA. It was South Park.
No,
Stick
I'm
of
pretty
Truth.
sure it is going to be XBLA.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
I thought it initially was, but I could see it being one of those games that maybe becomes retail because it's getting
Possibly.
bigger and bigger. This was awesome.
It
was.
looks phenomenal, man. I
Yeah.
cannot wait for this game.
So I've seen this game in person, running in front of me, and the look is the one thing I can't explain to people enough. And it should be the simplest thing ever. It looks exactly the same as the cartoon, exactly the same. It's indistinguishable as a video game. Like, it could look better, but it intentionally doesn't. It looks like the show, and that is freaking amazing. So this was cool. They brought out Matt and Trey
Yeah, onto
at
the
this
stage.
point
yeah.
to talk about it
And
because
then ripped into Microsoft.
yeah, it's a
And
nice little
smart glass.
yeah. And it was good to bring them out because they were really expressing, and this is from my knowledge of this game, is that they're so heavily involved in this. There's been a lot of South Park games, but this one is pretty much exclusively written by Matt and Trey. They're there all the time doing stuff. They're working very closely with Obsidian, who are making it, and they were saying interesting stuff like they've never really thought about in a physical world how South Park South Park is
how it's
like.
mapped out.
Where's Stan's house in comparison to Cartman's house?
Because they just
and
cut
various
to
things.
it.
Yeah. So that's quite interesting. It looks cool.
Yeah.
This game looks cool.
just
It
looks
does look like
phenomenal.
it's gonna be great.
Yeah. It looks like it's got a lot of RPG riffs,
Yeah.
and it's going to be making fun of you,
Video game
Yeah.
parody, basically.
but tastefully done. I think if they do it right, it can be awesome. You
Yeah.
know.
And I'm confident that they are going to
Those guys have been on form for a long time
Yeah.
now. South Park has dipped and come back in a big way, and that's cool. So I think that's quite a cool idea. Entertainment evolved. How do you get that message across in the best, most concise way, where someone doesn't even have to listen to someone speaking in order to understand exactly what it is? How do you usher in the future
think
of
you-
entertainment?
just done it. Interpretive dance.
Interpretive dance, yeah. And who could we get to do that interpretive dance? None other than Usher, baby. Usher came out and did a little bit of a dance.
Well, it's kind of it was kind of crap because the whole point is that he was there kind of banging on about Dance Central 3, not Just Dance, as I was about to say. But he wasn't doing it to Just Dance 3. He was just dancing.
I don't know if that was the point.
Not Just Dance 3.
Yeah. Does Usher
Dance
need a point?
Central.
Usher needs no point. He was just there. I don't even think he was invited.
Popping his collar.
He was just there. He was just like walking by and went, I don't know, I just need to bust out a song. Ran through backstage, ran out on the stage. No one knew what was going on. Usher's there.
And then all
Dancers
these-
are just about to do their Dance Central 3 thing. And it's like, what the fuck is Usher doing here? Just go with it. Go with it. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice dance there, Mike.
So yeah, that was weird. It was Dance Central 3, wasn't it? Harmonics were there. More of the same, but then why would they change it? It's done incredibly
Yeah.
well. Usher was in it. He was in the game
Yeah,
on
he
the
said,
screen.
yeah,
There
when
was
it
a
on.
little Usher man. He sang a song that sounded like his Usher songs.
Yeah.
It was weird the way they chose to do it. It's like, yeah, this is Dance Central 3. We'll show you a tiny bit, and then we'll explain why Usher's involved with it, and then Usher will come out and sing for no apparent reason.
Well, apart from the fact he's Usher.
It is what he
Just-
does.
Yeah, you could argue that why there's no apparent reason for any musical performance, but it would be a mean argument.
Yeah.
My argument with you guys here right now is that what else would you have liked them to do? Would you have liked them to have got a Microsoft or Harmonic rep on stage and seen them dancing to Dance Central in exactly the same way you saw them do it
No,
to 2 and
I'd
1?
like to see Usher dancing to Dance Central.
Yeah, I suppose.
Since he was there to promote Dance Central.
Was he though? We don't
Yeah.
know. I don't
Yeah,
know.
he
I don't know
was,
his
yes.
motif. I know he might have just been there to promote his new album.
They have
But he
the-
wasn't, was he?
Yeah,
His
no, he
album
was-
wasn't mentioned.
He was just there for Dance Central.
All right. Well, he danced and then danced. It was. I think there was a pretty big connection between him being in the game and there. But that's fine. It's Dance Central 3. Who's buying it? You gonna buy it, Joe?
No.
No, you're a big fan of the first two.
I did own the first one.
They're pretty good.
Yeah, not bad.
I find it just really hard.
No,
More than
yeah,
me.
it's alright.
I cannot gaga for my life. So then they went on and closed the show with, again, massive game, but not particularly exciting. In terms of like groundbreaking or anything new. It was Black Ops 2.
Yeah.
It looked cool. It looked like Black Ops 1. It looked like Black Ops does Modern Warfare.
I don't know, it's kind of got Metal Gear Solid undertones, I felt.
Yeah, weird mechy type things
Yeah,
with legs,
the
leggy robots.
Small AT-ATs.
leggy robots.
Because that's the whole story in it behind Black Ops, that they build this massive unmanned army and then someone steals the key to it to start waging war on the US.
They had dodgy voiceover with the weird sort of Russian voiceover man going, but what happens if someone steals the keys? It's like, well, I'm hoping you had more than one set.
He wasn't really a Russian, he was an aging soldier from America.
Yeah.
But, you know.
That's true, with a Russian accent. You
He
just
didn't have
heard
a-
it just then,
He,
Joe.
he didn't have a Russian accent, but fine.
What
fine.
if someone were to steal keys?
To be honest, actually, that did sound identical to it.
Exactly.
So I'm sorry.
Yeah, it looked like more Black Ops. I was disappointed with this because I am really interested in Black Ops 2 because I like what Treyarch did with Black Ops 1. Everything we keep hearing about Black Ops 2 about the fact that it's going to have branching storylines and knowing how sort of kind of wacky those guys have been with adding new features and going on their own tangents. I'm just excited to see it. And yet this demo was really bland. It was just... I'm really desensitized to sort of everything flying in my face and exploding. It's like, oh wow, a plane just really nearly hit me. And it's like, well, I didn't even notice, to be honest. Or a building fell down. And it's like, well... I don't know how they take those games into an area where more stuff's blowing up without it being ridiculous. Like, everything blows up anyway. So you've got to get into sort of Bayonetta style, rampancy. Which I'd be game for. I'd be game for Call of Duty in a Bayonetta world where you're shooting gods with a machine gun or something. I don't know. I think big stuff didn't impact.
I think it's a completely different feeling from just watching somebody else play a video on stage to actually sitting down with a joypad in your hand playing a game yourself.
Yeah.
And feeling how your character responds to what's going on in the
I
environment.
think the whole point behind them showing Call of Duty games is, if you like pay attention to the past, is people paying attention to what happened. So it's like it showed he had like that X-ray vision sight on his gun. There was the bit where he kept bringing up his left arm and it
To
was
control the
controlling-
UAVs. Yeah, that was. I thought that was both quite slickly done. You clearly you're pressing a button, he's bringing up his UAV, and you're just putting a pointer down to where you want it to fire. But it also looked kind of annoying to have to keep doing that all the time. It was good. I just don't think it showed any of the really interesting parts of the game that it should have done. And also, as we commented when we were watching it, that engine is really starting to look old. Yeah. It still looks great, and they're bolting on new light, and the lighting's very good in this new version, which seems to be something they've upgraded. But overall, that engine is old, and it kind of looks it. This game doesn't look really any better than.
To be fair, they've
Modern
sort
Warfare.
of screwed themselves in the fact that they can't not now put out a Call of Duty every fucking
Yeah,
November.
true. But then,
So who develops the engine?
Yeah, I would argue maybe that if it was me in that position and I was still selling the millions of copies,
I would just hire
I'd be like, I
another
don't
team
mind.
to write a fucking engine.
Well, I'd imagine it's a case of Infinity World are working on that while they do that, or they might. Who knows what's coming in the future? Whether they split them entirely and do stuff. Also, we have no idea how big Treyarch is, and there could be a team of people working on, and presumably there is a team of people working on the next Call of Duty game for them for the next system. In which case, it makes sense that the next system's when they would upgrade that engine.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah.
Because they're going to have the time to. But yeah, you're right. You're doing it yearly. Gives them no time to. They just do refinements and give you more of the same. But to a crowd of people that are used to playing multiplayer and only that multiplayer, and aren't expecting anything other than more of the same, and quite happy.
Not want anything other than more.
No,
than the same,
it's,
exactly.
Call of Duty is a service. It's not a game as such. You just buy more, and people just pump more and more money into it. So it was a big deal for it to be a Microsoft.
And they've got exclusive content again.
Yeah, exactly. That same deal
That
from last time.
That contract had run out. Hadn't it?
But just in terms of, from our perspective of just wanting to see something to really wow us, it wasn't anything new. It was kind of predictable that it was going to be there.
Yeah. I think Joe called it from the beginning, didn't you?
What?
How the conference would play out.
Oh yeah, I did say they'd have Halo at the beginning and Call of
Connect
Duty
in the
to end it.
middle.
Yeah,
That's
it's what they seem to do. They have a partially good start, a not very good middle, and then a partially good end.
See, I'm going to argue that fact. 'Cause I don't think that's a fair statement. I don't think it wasn't a very good middle. I just think it's not. The aimed at two different audiences.
It's kind of focused.
It's the way they've changed
Sunday
it.
games.
So yeah, they have their bit in the middle that's for the Connect and their extra features, and then they have games either side.
Sports fans.
They're very formulaic now. But it was clear that they were going. They've done some smart things. They're trying to please everyone. This hasn't been a very pushed conference or a very strong one.
No.
But they've hit all the buttons that they kind of need to in a very low key way. I like all the stuff, all the Apple seeming stuff that they're trying to go for, and if Microsoft can pull it off. And let's face it, the biggest thing they've got in their arsenal at the moment is the amount of Xboxes there are out there already sitting under TVs. And they seem to be playing on that fact of, you know what, you've already got this device,
Yeah.
So here's some more shit to do on it.
Yeah.
And different stuff to do on it. And, you know, now your dad might want to use it for this, or your mum might want to use it for that. And, oh, are you still playing games on this thing? You know, so...
I think that's how they got past the curve, because every console has its curve where it goes up and then starts to come back down. Of course, with Xbox, it went up, dipped, and then it's coming back even stronger again after they started announcing all these new features, and people are just buying them for those features.
Yeah. So it was, yeah, I think in that respect, it did what it needed to. All right, well, we're gonna wrap this up now, but we'll just quickly touch on Summer of Arcade, because it wasn't part of the conference, but the list has come out now. Games on Summer of Arcade this year are Deadlight, which is the I don't know, how do we explain Deadlight? I always say it looks like Shadow Complex. It's not a Shadow Complex like game, but visually looks like Shadow Complex.
I think most people are comparing it to Shadow Complex and the Limbo.
Yeah. So it's very dark.
Yeah.
2D game, action jumping platformy thing. Then we've got Dust and Elysian Tale, which I don't know very much about, but I believe it's very cartoony and very beautiful looking. Hybrid, which was the shooter from Fifth Cell, the Scribblenauts guys.
Yeah.
Which is a weird cover-based shooter.
On the rail shooter.
Where
thing.
it's not on the rails, but it's moving between cover locks you in that movement between cover, so it will force a perpetual motion. Once you've decided to move to the next piece of cover, you're almost in like a 0G thing. You'll fly towards it as soon as you press the button, and then all you can do is cancel or carry on going.
Yeah.
And then you can move around freely behind the cover. Looked kind of interesting, but don't know much more about it. Next was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater HD, which
it's Tony Hawk.
Yeah, it's Tony Hawk's.
It's retro Tony Hawk's.
Yeah,
which is good Tony Hawk's.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just the remake of the first one. I love the first one. Just trying to find everything.
It's more than just a remake of the first one, because the DLC is levels from other ones. They've got levels from Tony Hawk's 3 and different the reverts and the manuals as they changed those and added those to the systems. Those are in there, and you can switch them on and off for different game types. So it looks like a pretty definitive Tony Hawk's collection, which is quite cool. It'd be interesting to see what the deals are with sort of hidden characters and sneaky dudes that have been in Tony Hawk's over the years, because you've had Spider-Man and Wolverine and various other cool Darth Maul. Yeah, be interesting to see if any of that's in there. And then the last Summer of Arcade game was Wrecketeer, which we spoke about earlier, the Kinect boulder throwing fun game. Yeah, so that was it really. That was Microsoft overall. Not bad, but just not
underwhelming.
Yeah, I mean, I came into this really geared up for E3, and I'm still pumped for E3, but that was a bit of a soppy start.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting much because I knew how it was going to go, and I swear every year it's never mind-blowingly good. It's just always a bit of a, it's alright, I get to know what I need to know. And
yeah, I just feel like there's nothing I've come out of that wanting to tell someone about. Last year, I always feel like there's at least something. Last year was Halo 4. And this year I'm like, what's my big, oh shit, did you see Microsoft conference because of this? And it's like, yeah, it's almost depressing to think that out of that, I'm most excited for Smart Glass.
Yeah.
And that's only because it's something I feel like I would use in my day-to-day life and isn't a game, so it's like that's, for me, it's a bit of a shame, but we'll see. Sony is up next, which we will be doing another one of these podcasts straight away for. We'll be back to talk you through that then. It'd be interesting to see what they do and how that compares. If you want to get in touch with us all throughout the E3 period, you can email us on thingsweplay@gmail.com, or you can Twitter us or follow our Twitter account, because we'll be live tweeting everything at thingsweplay. We'll see you in a few cans of Red Bull and a pizza.
later.
Sayonara.